Tips are back, of course, we're talking FF7, we're talking Rebirth, and for some reason today, Square Enix chose violence and decided to finally put into the 26-year debate on how to pronounce Cait Sith's name. And for better or worse, if you have been calling him Cait Sith this entire time, that's how it's going to be pronounced. So they just dropped this tweet that says, "We saw many of you were asking, so we hope this helps." And then in the picture it says, "In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Cait Sith is now pronounced Cait Sith." And we actually had the Square Enix account quote tweet saying, "Answering another of life's big questions." Now, admittedly, I don't know the full details on the whole Ketchi thing. I have, like, peripheral knowledge from other people. I know it's, like, a cat fairy, like, Irish, Scottish folklore type of thing. And I believe in one or both of those, it's meant to be pronounced Ketchi. That's kind of, like, all I know. And I think it's got a similar pronunciation somewhat in, like, Japanese. It's, like, Karashi or some shit like that. But until we've had, like, an official pronunciation of its name, like, in-game somewhere, I've always just called it Cait Sith, because that's how it's spelled. That's how it should be pronounced. It's kind of like a reverse of the Titus situation, where you look at the name in Final Fantasy X and it should be pronounced Titus, but apparently it's supposed to be Titus. In a somewhat similar way, you have like Final Fantasy IX, where the main character's name, the way it's spelled, I always said Zidane, but it's supposed to be pronounced like Zidane or something. It's weird. And admittedly, when it comes to Cait Sith, it kind of doesn't make sense, because, I mean, he is based somewhat on that, you know, Irish, Scottish folklore, and that's part of why he has a Scottish accent, right? Because of the Scottish folklore, of the Ketchi cat fairy thing. And they even give him the Scottish accent in Advent Children, but also now with Rebirth. And it's like, if you're going to lean into like the Scottish thing, like, it is kind of weird that it's not pronounced Ketchi, or however exactly you would say it. She's also got the Scottish accent in Dirge of Cerberus. I always kind of forget about that game. So we have like 3 official FF7 projects: Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, FF7 Rebirth, and also going to be the 3rd game where he's going to have a Scottish accent, but it's not the Scottish name pronunciation. I wonder if to a certain degree they didn't just do this because that's how people have been saying it for a long time, and that's how people are probably going to say going forward. I think over time, if we had it in-game and they were saying his name often enough, and they were saying Ketchi or whatever, I'd probably eventually start changing it, because I say Titus these days, right? Even though I've said Titus for most of my life. If they were pronounced his name the way it's supposed to be pronounced or whatever in Rebirth and the 3rd game, I'd probably eventually move on to saying that. But most people are just going to call him Cait Sith, and it could be kind of a learning from the Titus situation, where people don't want to fucking call him Titus. They just don't want to say that name. It's a stupid-ass name. Maybe they're just like, everybody's going to call him Cait Sith anyways. That's what he's been called for most people for like 26 years now, so let's just call him Cait Sith. Because I don't think he's ever had his name said at all, right? So, makes sense. Since I've mentioned a few times already in this video the whole Titus situation, it just bothers me because like Titus makes sense because he's got like a water theme to his character to a certain degree, right? With Blitzball, but also the Brotherhood that's on the cover of the goddamn game. And a lot of Final Fantasy characters are named after like weather and shit, like cloud, squall, and lightning, things like that. So it makes sense for his name to be Titus, Tide, Water. I know a little bit of Vindication with this though, because I've been saying Cait Sith my entire life, right? And I've had people try to correct me over the years on YouTube. It's not a big deal. People aren't like rude about it, but people are like, it's pronounced Ketchi, and it's like, well, I'm gonna say it until it's, you know, officially pronounced. And even though I do say Titus these days, I don't know if they've ever. I think they say Titus in like Kingdom Hearts or something, right? I don't think they've ever said his name in like Final Fantasy X or X-2 or any supplemental materials, as far as I'm aware. It's actually entirely possible that in like that theoretical Final Fantasy X-3, they might call him Titus, because they've not said his name in like an official Final Fantasy project. Maybe Dissidia or 2, I don't remember exactly. But it's nice going forward that we're going to be calling him Cait Sith. Even though I've been a big Cait Sith defender in this video and kind of my entire life, in terms of pronunciation, not the character, because who gives a shit about the character. It probably should be Ketchi if you're going to do the whole Scottish accent thing, and since you're clearly leaning into that like folklore thing, it's kind of weird to just call him Cait Sith if you're going to base him off of Ketchi. I don't know. Pretty much the video, my dude. It's kind of a quicker news video, a little light discussion about the pronunciation, but it's kind of a big deal too, because this is like a 26-year-old question at this point, a 26-year-old debate. And at least with the English side of things, that's how they're going to pronounce it. I don't know. Again, the accuracy of all of it, I don't really care, because I was going to call him Cait Sith anyways, so nothing's changed for me. What are your thoughts, though? Do you give a shit? Do we even care about the character Cait Sith? He actually does look kind of fun to play in the game. I don't know how the character's going to be throughout the course of Rebirth in the 3rd game, because I definitely don't like the character in the original FF7. It's my least played character, for sure. It's never in the party outside of getting the trophy for his fucking level 4 or level 2 limit break or whatever. Like, that's the most I use him. And it's not even that he's necessarily a bad character. I just don't care about the character. I like Reeve. I give a shit about the cat Moogle. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe channel if you guys are new to Social Network. Subscription below. Follow me on Twitter. @YT. Later. Later? I say bye usually. Why do I say later? Whatever.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.